I hear you now, man. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I apologize for my attire. Usually I'm more dressed up than this. I just finished the gym, so hopped on your call here right now.
No worries. Well, your call. So, how can I help you? Let's maximize your time.
Yeah, so I use Instantly primarily. I got an email from them recently. Hey, there's a bunch of people that are experts in this field. Honestly, you were probably the first ones that came in the list. I saw like you have a consultation hour. I'm not really putting enough time on it. I'm not getting that many appointments from it anyways. So I figured like, let me just schedule maybe a couple of calls with you, see how you can maybe steer me in the right direction. That's the reason I scheduled this call here.
Okay, perfect. So, let's start off. You want to show me what you've got going on
Yeah.
initially, and we can
Yeah, let me
dive right in.
preface a little bit better what we're doing. I have a consulting company. We specialize in sales training, but primarily just for financial and insurance advisors. All right. So I scraped a bunch of lists, some from LinkedIn Sales Navigator, some from Apollo, some from my CRM, but they're all primarily financial and insurance advisors, and I run cold emails on them.
Okay, makes
Okay.
sense. And then in that process, like the LinkedIn sales nav stuff, I mean, your CRM, obviously you have their email, but the other sources, Apollo or scraping, what did you use to get the email address?
Well, for Apollo, I have someone that I know. I send them the URLs. I get back the list. I run them all through Million Verifier, so I only have verified contacts in here.
Okay, good. So let's see. So you got everything segmented, which is good. Um, you okay if I start from like the beginning settings, stuff like that?
Please, brother, take the lead here.
Okay, awesome. So are you okay if I take over the screen?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay, let's send you a request to get remote control.
There you go.
Cool. So a couple things is I want to start look at the email accounts. While I'm doing that, so all dot coms, where did you get the domains from?
I created, as you can see, I created these domains.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
the domain provider?
Domain.com.
Domain.com. Okay. And then email accounts, Google,
Yeah.
Microsoft,
Only Google accounts.
only Google. Okay, fair enough. How old are the domains?
Excuse me.
How old
Uh,
are they?
so the ones that don't have a number at the end, I would say they're like 4 month old since I started using this. The ones that don't have a number on them, they're like 2, 3 years old.
Okay, good. I already put a tag in there. They just released that a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's freaking annoying to add one by one to every campaign. It drove me nuts.
Okay, so a couple things I see right away on warm up. We would want to do weekends only, read emulation. So what I want to, if you're okay with it, let me change the first account,
Yeah,
and
you
that
can bulk,
way,
you can bulk them
okay, if
all.
you're okay, okay. I just I want to make sure I have your permission. Um, I didn't scroll all the way down. How many accounts are
That's
here?
like 63 if my memory serves me well, but if you click on that box there, yeah, there you go, 64.
64. Yeah. All right. So it's a little slower when I'm going like over the shoulder. So I mean, I'm sure warm up is meant to emulate human behavior, right? So part of this is just saying, okay, on average, 75% of people are going to open your email, and that's what we would want warm up to do. We do want it to go in and pull everything from spam. So what this does is if it hits a spam folder, it pulls it back into inbox like you can do in Gmail. And then the mark important, we just set around, I don't know, 10, 15, 20%, because I mean, how many people really mark your email important, right? Not zero, not 100. So it's just a, kind of a ballpark. Um, I would. You're sending 35 a day. Like, are you finding? Do you think? Have you done any testing? Do you find you really think you're hitting inboxes to that extent, or
You're asking me if I'm hitting inboxes? I have absolutely no clue. The only thing I see right now, because I disabled my open rates, I'm only seeing reply rate.
okay? So it's good that you disabled your open rates. I would probably you have 63 accounts or 64 times 20, 25. I mean, I would probably go a little bit more conservative for a little while, and probably stay around 25 or 30.
Okay.
It's so I'll be straight with you. Is it Ramsey? Ramsey? How
Yeah.
do you say your name?
Yeah. The
Ramsey?
first pronunciation. Yeah.
Okay. So Ramsey, it's Google, especially Google, is just in a new era right now where you send more than a thousand, you get more than one spam report per 1,000 emails. They're gonna take down that email account, and they're very, very delicate on sending limits. So essentially, you could send 5 or 10 emails a day and almost do whatever you want, but like send videos and all that. If um, I still don't recommend it, but you could get away with it 5, 10 emails a day. When you hit anything above 25, I just like I have 270 accounts. I don't send more than 25 just because I think it's too much.
Let's follow your rules, my friend.
Okay. Are you using any of these email accounts in multiple campaigns?
The way I have it set up right now, I have half of them in one campaign. I initially had everything in all campaigns because I mean it was more simpler for me. But
Yeah.
then I don't know, I started seeing that I'm not hitting the full sending volume per day and instantly wasn't black and white give me an answer, so I just separated them.
Okay. So if you ever add them back to multiple campaigns, then put a number in here like 2 or 3, because then it just keeps that email if it's in multiple campaigns, but it's irrelevant if you haven't split. So
Well, can I ask you, do you have them all in every campaign?
no, I have them like you. I have them all segmented in different campaigns.
Okay.
I just think it's easier to not have to worry about balance, because you have to balance individual daily sending limit like this, but then you also have to balance that cumulative number in the
Yeah.
campaign limit, and it gets
Okay.
really complicated, right? If you have it in multiple campaigns. So,
Fair. Quick
all
question.
right,
I'm gonna throw you
yeah,
questions as they come along. You mentioned you have 270 counts. You know, I'm growing domains by the number at the end of my main domain. And I was wondering, like, is that best practice? Is that okay? Because I mean, if I get an email and I have like a 9 at the end, I don't know. Do I reply? Do I not?
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do it if I wouldn't do it going forward. What I would do if I want to added more domains is I would go in and say Lux. I type, and this sounds stupid, but I go into ChatGPT. I type in Lux Sales Consulting, and I would say give me as many domain variations of this name as possible, and you'd get domains that look like Lux Sales Consulting, like Lux Sales Consulting buyers. I mean, just words that vary off that name that are similar versus the number that are more believable from because part of cold email, right, is you send an email to your question, right? The it and I'm going to tell you in a minute, you shouldn't be putting any links anywhere in the email. So all they have to go by is your domain name. And number one, do you have all these domains forwarded to your main domain,
Forward it
or
to
do you
my
know?
main domain, like the replies?
No, the domains themselves. So if I go
Oh,
into Google, if I type luxsalesconsulting1.com in the URL bar, does it
yeah.
redirect to your main?
I'm pretty sure I have it set up that way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. Because I mean, you think about, like, I send you an email, we don't know each other. I'm not going to have my URL in anywhere in the email. So the only way for you to find my website is to do what you just did, right? Which is take the domain name, plug it into the URL. It should redirect like yours just did to my main page. So the one that tens versus a different name, I would say ideally going forward, create variations of that name versus numbers, but it's not a end all be all,
Okay.
right? I mean, it's, I it's probably somewhat subjective how much of a difference it makes. But the way I teach people is just take your main domain, go into GPT, and tell it to create 20 variations of that as close as possible. And that's probably the easier way to do it.
Okay.
So settings look good. Let's go into campaign settings. I'm just gonna, this one looks active. All right, so good, good, good. And this is what I was talking about with the daily limit. So this should be 25 times however many emails you have in there now, which is
Yeah, but I figured I
uh,
just put it way over and it's just always gonna send. I mean,
yeah, it'll cap out. It'll cap out at whatever the daily limit is. It's just the main thing is you don't want it under, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I would change these. I would change these to 7 and 2,
Yeah, no worries.
and just creates a random. This random 2 creates a random. It's just an algorithmic trick,
No worries.
to try to make sure. Uh, and you have only Google accounts, so everything else looks good. That would be the only thing I changed. So you're sending all your emails as plain text, which is this HTML setting up here. So
Yeah.
when you get into your copy, just remember that there's no point in having links
Yeah,
or anything
hyperlinks.
else because plain text. Yeah. Even you can't even italicize stuff if you have this button checked or bold it or anything else.
Cool. I do have another campaign, so the only thing you changed here is the 7 minute and 2 minute,
Uh-huh.
right? Below.
7 and 2. Yep.
Okay.
So that looks good. All right, so I'm gonna go back into this one and look at your copy process here. Okay, so you're running 3.
My open rates, like I've been running this for 6 months, but I'm lucky if I get like anything between 1 to 1.5% open rate on the first email. Just dirty.
Yeah, I mean, just being frank with you, it looks like some of the language you're using just looks like so many emails that people send, right? And what I teach people is entirely different. So I'll show you, and then you can kind of decide like if it's something you want to entertain. But even if I did not change the first email, definitely you want to put up take away the link because just having it in there is going to hurt your deliverability. Um, I'll give you what I believe will be a better second and third sequence. And what it does, it's just a bump, but it's very effective. So historically speaking, right, most people when they write copy, um, whatever the best they have is the first email, right? And then anything beyond that is generally like their second best, third best opportunity. Um, so I take a completely different approach. I write my copy with AI. It's very professional. It's a little bit longer than yours, but it's not salesy at all. And the goal is to get people to a meeting. But then I actually get a lot more replies from the second and third email because it's just a professional bump. And I use some techniques. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. Before we go into that, though, I think the only thing I would change here is are you sending is the third turned on?
It's,
Yeah.
it's, uh, it's
So,
supposed to be, it's supposed to be 3 days apart. That was a mistake.
okay. Yeah, I would go 2, 2, and 2, but 3, 3, and 3 is fine too. If that makes
Okay.
sense. So,
I'll just follow what you use, to be honest, man. You're the pro at this.
Yeah, I think I've tested. I mean, I've sent like 557,000 emails at this point. So two, and two seems to work. I don't know why. I don't know the rationale behind that, but it's not too soon and not too far apart, if that makes
Yeah, all
sense.
good.
All right. Okay, and then let me look at your data here.
That's just one day.
Yeah, go filtered here. You're not doing bad. So I can tell you that most people, there's 40,000 people, Ramsey, in the Instantly Facebook group, which is their number one social communication channel. About 39,500 of them can't get one out of 1,000 people to reply to them positively. And when I say positively, I'm saying here you sent 65,000 emails, and if you're tracking this correctly, then you're almost there. You're almost one out of 1,000. So some of these subtle things that we're talking about, they're going to make a difference. They are, because your copy. So here's how I look at things, right? At the end of the day, you got to have good setup, which from what I can tell, the biggest thing I can tell is you stop tracking opens and you're sending plain text, and that's already making a difference to you. The next thing is that you got to reach the inbox. Doesn't matter how good your subject line is or copy if you don't reach the inbox. Then you got to have a subject line that gets people to want to open the email. So I'm going to show you in a minute what I use, and it's very effective. It's not salesy; it's just simple. And then, the once you get them to open the email, then it's really just about how do you look different than. I mean, you run a company, I run a company. We get a lot of cold email. Now, most of it's bad and it hits my spam folder, but the ones that hit my inbox on a daily basis, maybe 5 or 10, 8 out of those 10 look alike. Like there's some version and they kind of match the structure or version of you. I can teach you how to be that 1 or 2 out of 10. And it's, I'll show you it. You can look at it and judge it on your own, but then I'll just show you what it looks like in reality for myself and other clients, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Listen,
So,
I'm actually on board already. Like, you don't need to like kind of convince me. Whatever you do, man, the fastest way I can just duplicate it. And ideally, I'd like to maybe have a call a week for you with you for the next like
okay.
month, 2 months, like just just to let you know preface. Like, I don't need convincing here, buddy.
Okay, good. Well, a lot of people do. So I speak, to,
For the
to
general.
confer. All right. So I'll move a little faster. So then I'm going to be honest with you about like 95% of people can't get one out of 1,000. You're close. So the lead targeting is really good at the end of the day. I think you add better copy to the lead targeting and better structure to the process, and it's just going to get better, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
nice.
I've seen.
I'm not sure about the opportunities though, because I'm not the one tracking that. I have a VA doing that, and I've never checked how she actually marks them. So I put a
Okay.
task to double check that.
Yeah, and what I would do to double check it quickly is, you know, who's sending the replies? Is it the VA sending the replies too?
Yeah.
Okay. So I give my VA a template. Inevitably, people are going to ask 4 or 5 different types of questions. And if it doesn't fall in those buckets, then come to me. Like if it's very complex, like, tell me the ins and outs of your program and why it will work for me. That's not something I want my VA answering. But if it's, you know, how do I schedule a call? How much does it cost? Those common questions you're going to get, I have that template written out for them and they reply how I tell them.
Yeah.
But here's a good, I mean, you can do a lot of auditing of it. This is your own personal decision, Ramsey, of like what's a soft reply, what's a hard no, what's a hard yes, what's a so like me, they say stop. I'm done, unsubscribe. If they say, you know, I'm not interested, if it's somewhat of a soft, we actually send them a follow-up email that says here's a free audit report we did. You know, if so we kind of set up degrees of no and yes.
Yeah.
um
Okay.
where and that's the criteria I define for the VAs, and just and then here's what I want you to say,
Yeah.
and here's the booking link, etc. So like you can see in here, there's some versions of that.
Yeah, by the way, that VA that's managing this, she's been managing not just this, but also my LinkedIn campaigns for 3 years. She does have a workbook. She has all the templates. The only time
Good.
she's applying if it's like a fuck off or a stop or all these specific wordings, everything else is a rebuttal to it. I'm not interested as a rebuttal to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's your style. Like at the end of the day, it's like there's personal tweaks you make in this, but the number one thing about this is timeliness, right? So if anything, remember that like this guy, nice lead, right? Nice reply. I'd be open to a call. We want to make sure that when at all possible, I know VAs don't work 24 hours a day, but when at all possible, like this is a 5 or 10 minute turnaround.
Yeah. I
And so
forward her all the positive replies from instantly to her email. She has to clear this within, I would say, within 6 to 8 hours of a reply for the most part. So let's see.
does she have access to this?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where she replies.
She replies directly from instantly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
So that looks good. I mean, it looks like she's tagging good, but uh
I'll double check again all the tags. I'll check with her like because I think the tag interested is automatic. I don't know. That's
it
what I
is. It does do auto classification, but every once in a while you'll see it where it's
yeah.
gray, like these are blue, and it's because the AI wasn't sure.
You
So
know, my ultimate metric is how many bookings we got per day. So usually I don't look at that.
yeah,
When I open
you
it
don't
and
care about this.
I have like 1 or 2 bookings per day, and I'm like, man, there's something off. Like it's not a lot. Maybe I didn't scale
Well,
enough with volume, but I don't know.
well, I mean, um, volume is the greatest equalizer of anything. Like you can make all kinds of changes, but
You
you
should check.
already know how to get replies, right? So, there's something to be said for increasing volume.
Example. So I kind of have them broken down based on the different channels. If we look at, for example, April, like you can see, like I sometimes have days with like no bookings.
Nothing. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we're gonna work on fixing that.
anyways.
All right. Let me show you a couple things here. I have too many instantly accounts, so it takes me a minute sometimes.
When I come back in 30 seconds, Josh.
Sure. All right. Share my screen here. All right. So you see instantly, okay? You hear me okay, Ramsey?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, okay. You see instantly? Just making sure you see
Yeah, I
the
see your screen.
instantly. Okay. So this is the setup I put in for my clients. It's 2, 2, and 2. This is the subject line. It's not mysterious or nothing. The reason why it works is because I email you, hi Ramsey, you got to make a decision whether or not you know me or not. And most of the time you're curious to know why I'm saying hi to you. So you're going to open the email. It's worked forever. Um, it's not quick question or anything. It's just the simplest shit that works. Um, so if you look at our copy, it's very boring. But here's why it's not boring, because we inject it with AI. And let me walk you through this. So in Clay, we go in and we pull with one workflow, which is through Cohere. I don't know if you're familiar with Cohere, large language model, enterprise grade. It costs us about 1/10, well, 8/10 to 1 cent to pull every time 100% scraping of their website using a large language model, because it's a large language model that doesn't hallucinate like ChatGPT. So we go in, we pull that, we inject an offer, and then very deliberately we combine that offer with hyper personalized information about that company. And then now this, in this case, we're testing out video and it's actually working really well, where we say, we're just saying, can we send you a video? So let me show you with the email account, and that's it. But you see how it's plain text?
Yeah.
That's one way to do it, right? So, but every one of my campaigns follow this. So I'm showing you this one as an example. I'll show you another one. But the second email, do you see the forward on there versus the default instantly? And it's structured very intentionally with this, like this. So it looks like I took the email, hit forward, and sent you this bump. So when you look at it in reality, it says, Kim, would you mind letting me know when you have a few minutes? This this approach is very business-like. Like if you and I were doing business, I sent you an email, you didn't reply for me for a day or two. This is what I would do. I'd say, hey, Ramsey, you got a minute? Can you let me know on this? That's why it works. And the forwarding concept, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
very simple, not trying to be better than this email, just trying to say, hey, you may have missed this. Can you let me know? And it works really, really well. And then the third one, you ever heard of Jeremy Miner?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I stole this from him about 4 months ago, and it also works like a charm. It just says, Kim, I emailed you a few times. Where should we go from here? And that's it. That's our whole sequence. But I'm going to tell you that this one, sometimes the emails aren't so lovely. Like you can go to hell, Josh, or whatever, but it works. And any reply, Ramsey, is a good reply because number one, you know it made it there, and number two, it's helping your domain rating. So I don't really mind that some of these emails are negative, but the second one out blows away. And so I'm going to show you like real data from this week. This is one of the campaigns that it was launched on at pretty high volume, and the video has helped. But so we sent 20,000 emails. We're running almost like one every 150 email getting a positive replies. It's just ridiculous, the numbers. So this is selling VA services, coaching services, social media. So it's not, the offer just changes, and I'll show you in Clay how that works. But um, we take, like, you're scraping LinkedIn, but all we need is a website. We do a little,
Sorry, can I pause here? Can it, because a lot of our
yeah,
clients are working, like I give an example, Morgan Stanley has 15,000 advisors. A lot of the
yeah.
websites are like company websites. They're not like they're not like theirs. Is that gonna cause an issue?
No, because I think the difference, so all we want is the best hyper personalization. It doesn't matter if it's a website, it doesn't matter if it's a LinkedIn personal profile. We can write a prompt. All we're trying to do is kind of create that effect that we know more about you than most, and we did our research. And here's why our offer at least makes sense, worth entertaining. That's it. Not salesy, not, and I'll show you dynamically how we can change the offer. But the nice thing about it is that if we can get our hands on the data, then the more relevant the data, the better, right?
Yeah.
So I use websites because it's easy, it's cheap, and it's accurate. I could just as easy use like personal LinkedIn profiles and reference something depending how often they post, stuff like that. But you could, reference their last job. Whatever the data source is, we can feed into it to make it hyper relevant. That's the goal.
Makes sense, yeah, because I would say in 80-90% of our target market aren't these independent guys that have their own websites. Anyways, food for thought.
Aren't independent. They don't have their own websites, is
Yeah,
what you're saying,
yeah.
right?
Most of them, I would say, unless I can find a way to remove all the ones who are, if I can segregate them, I could probably spend some time and segregate all the ones who are independent and have their own websites versus don't. I could probably do that.
Yeah, I wonder if we could do that. Like, I wonder if I had an Excel table and then look, or I can put it into Clay, obviously, but had a table and then said, just wrote an if formula that says if this exists for more than one person, then that's obviously one that meets that criteria versus if it's a unique website for only this person. Like, I think there's some ways to do that too.
Cool, nice.
But just to give you an idea, right? So I used OpenAI as an example, and this is the prompt. So it's a pretty detailed prompt. The cost on doing this one, 1/1000th of a cent to pull this data. And the level of detail that we're able to pull is pretty robust, right? So, and it's hyper relevant. Like I had one last week where we sent an email to somebody, it referenced the conference they went to the week before. And it's because they updated a blog post on their website about the conference they went into. Um,
That would be
it's
powerful.
it's it's sick. It's just because it's Cohere is, you probably never heard of it, but it's used by like Google and Amazon. So it's like the one large language model that all the people building large language models still use because it's built for enterprise AWS, that kind of grade performance.
But
And it's cheap. And then up till Friday, we were using Claude Opus to create the copy. But today, yesterday, we're moving over to GPT-4 Omni, which is the model OpenAI released Monday. And it's just because it's better and it's cheaper at the end of
okay.
the day. So, and I'll give you an idea of what that looks like. So, like, this is what you saw in instantly. What we do is we go in and I'll show you the prompt in a minute. The prompt can be tweaked, but this is very much like from a founder persona. And what it's doing is I'm impressed with your forward thinking approach around AGI and prioritizing safety and responsibility. If you know anything about OpenAI, as much as they like to put out cool stuff, they preach a lot about safety, responsibility, reaching towards AGI, which is true augmented intelligence. So this is basically telling them, I didn't look at your LinkedIn and grab something, that anybody can find. I spent time researching your business. And that's the goal. And then here we introduce the offer. So this is an example of my offer. We recognize AI and B2B marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And then the third paragraph is set to summarize that. And I will show you here in the prompt. The prompt's pretty in depth. So it's injecting the research. It's looking at the research in the offer. I tell it what words to use more frequently. I tell it how to craft the paragraphs and how to structure its language, how to do its personalization, founder to founder tone. The nice thing is like if you want to take a different tone, like I want to take a financial consultant tone, these models are really, really good when they assume a persona. And
Nice.
so that's if you ever play with Chat GPT and tell it to like be a coach, it'll become a coach and then coach you like a coach. And that's what we're doing here. We're telling it to be a persona, and then we're telling it very specifically what we want it to inject from its knowledge. And then dynamically, I could do this 1,000 at a time, and I'll just show you one. I don't know how big this table is, but yeah, this one's 13,000. So
That's next level shit.
It's once you figure out how to do it once, it's surprisingly easy. But this is a simple one. But this is one where we're using Claude, which is even a better model. And you can just see like this one, you always try to test stuff and get better. So for some clients, they want two, they want three. But it's met when you're doing high volume, it's about balancing cost and scale, right? Because 1 or 2 cents a lead can add up pretty quickly when you're doing 10,000 at a time, right? So just different examples. But you can see like we're doing it for all kinds of different companies, and it's. I mean, I questioned myself the other day or 2 weeks ago when I was like, we're going to do 1,000-person campaign for a pressure washing company in Southern California. Until on the second day, we already had 7 interested replies. So, and that small business type mentality. I honestly think it works better with an audience like yours because not very many people are going to take the time to send professional stuff in the first place, and then you add a little bit of mix of research and stuff, and it works better. If for any other reason that your email will always be professional and it'll show some level of research, and you're not being salesy. What I do what we do is and I'll show you some other campaigns here. Sorry, the button is below my monitor. That's why I look like I'm always looking over the monitor.
Of course.
So, like, here's that one I was telling you about with the pressure washing company. And same approach. This one, we're not sending the video. That's the only difference. But the copy looks exactly the same, right? It's just that same combination of research, introducing the offer, and then tying that back. In this one, we just do very soft CTAs, like can we arrange a quick call to discuss? Can we, can we connect to explore further? Things like that aren't pushy, and it just works. That's kind of it. So, but the one thing I want you to know now, like if you look at this, they all have the same structural approach,
Yeah, I
no
see that.
matter what. So let me show you one last thing. I gotta switch instantly here. So this is me. This is my account, right? And I'm going to tell you the most important lesson I've learned in this process. So this was the month of October. So just 6, 7 months ago, right? We had 6% reply rate, 1.3 thousand opportunities. Like this is a positive response per 50 emails sent, give or take, right? Extremely effective. But here's the problem. This 1.3 positive replies turned into 200 meetings, which is a lot of meetings, but that's the kind of meetings you want, right? That level of volume. That's, I don't know, it was close to 10 a day at that point. But we lost, I beat myself up, and why we made a change is because we lost 1,000 people that said they were interested in some capacity or another. We never got them on a call. Now, this was all done, Ramsey, with no AI, just pure copy. The reason why we moved, and it took us about a month and a half with the holidays and everything to move to full blown AI, but I will show you when we launched it in January, the difference is reply rate is about the same. So 6.1 to 6.6. Opportunities dropped out of the sky, like from 1,200 down to 435. But you want to guess how many meetings we got in January? 200 again. So the point is that we changed our approach to hyper personalize, direct, non-salesy stuff using the exact same domains, and lost the amount of interest, but gained the same amount of meetings. And we closed a lot more people too, because we were very transparent in our approach. and just saying, this is what we do. We know what you do, and this is why it works, right? And cumulatively, I mean, I've been in instantly since I think July. We'll see. Can't remember. Surprisingly, not that long. Uh,
That's insane.
and this is where we're at. That's what I was saying. Like almost hit 675,000 emails, right? So, like you in the very beginning, I tracked opens too. I evolved. I stopped tracking them, and then I'll show you what I was telling you about the campaign approach. Every campaign I look at, it will be the same. But this second email and these third emails always outperform the first.
Okay.
And while sometimes the first one gets more opportunities, you won't find very many approaches where you get almost as many, if not more, opportunities out of the second or third email. It's like usually falls out of the sky after the first email.
Yeah.
Whereas this is built to basically say, like, it's okay if you don't love our first email because this one will remind you to look at it again. That makes sense.
Yeah, man. Makes sense, bro. Makes sense.
All right. So what I would tell you initially is, let me pull up the drive here. So I'm going to create a folder for you. I'm going to share some stuff with you. The settings that we went over today, I have screenshots in here for
Okay.
you to look at. I also kind of have a high level on the strategy and then a copy of the exact emails that we use in the second or third sequence so that you can see that. And I'll put that in your drive. That's one thing.
Is it that? So let me just understand a little bit better next steps. Can we hop on a few other calls and we can just set this all up live together, or?
Yeah, that's what you want to do. I operate on a very simple model, and you've already taken the first step. Is I charge $250 an hour if I'm building stuff in Clay. If I'm giving you anything I have, like that's just how I work. So that's the easy way. I mean, we can do multiple in advance, or you can just do them one on one. I think it makes sense to do things in sequences because you need time in between us going over this. I'm going to send you the recording. I'm going to send you the notes, right?
Okay.
You're going to have a Google Drive that we add to, but like obviously I could do it all for you, but you're going to want to leave here running your campaigns. I would imagine being able to continuously, like when you want to add new domains and send more emails, you already have the system in place. So I try to operate under the teach you to fish model versus fishing for you, but I do both, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was just thinking, what's the fastest way for me to get up and running? So far from what you're telling me, I could probably make all the tweaks, especially if you give me that document. I'm just not familiar with,
Yeah.
I don't know, Clay. I don't know what it was called. I have no idea what that is. So maybe what I can maybe tell you is maybe we can hop on another call based on your availability maybe tomorrow. Between now and then, we can go into more live action, setting Clay up, and I don't know. Based on
Yeah.
your experience, what do you think would be the fastest way for me to get up and running?
Well, me doing it for you, but I think it's worth the time for you to learn how to use Clay, and that way you can evaluate. Here's the thing about Clay: AI is changing so fast that what worked last week will work this week, but might be better and cheaper this week, right? So I feel like, you having the ability, I mean, are you pretty decent? I mean, you scraped your own LinkedIn leads or you had someone do that for you?
Back in the days, I used to scrape. Right now, I have someone. I just send URLs.
Are you pretty comfortable with like just normal Excel pivot tables kind of stuff?
Sure, but man, time is like one of my issues.
Okay. Well, um, let's book a call tomorrow. I'll have you book a call tomorrow. Let's get it set up and then make the decision of, I mean,
Here-
I
here-
can do it for you and I
Here's what
can
I
do
can
it for you or
here's
you
what I
tell
can
me.
propose. I can pay you an hour. Well, you tell me what it is, but yeah, do everything on your own time. It's gonna take an hour. I'll pay you for your time, and let's hop on a call, which will probably be another hour, or whatever it is. And I think these two calls will get me up and running quick, and then we can have weekly calls where
Okay.
Pretty much we just stay in the loop. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, to build. So here's what I would need. I need you to give me access to your instantly account,
Yep.
and you can do that in the settings. I need you. Can you see my screen still?
Yep.
Okay. So I need you to follow this document to sign up for Clay.
Yep.
It's pretty straightforward. So you'll sign up, and then you'll give me access in Clay, which is
Yep.
I have screenshots in here.
Yep.
And then as soon as you do that, and I can work on it tomorrow, I will build everything in there, right,
Okay.
for you. And then let me look at my calendar. Crazy schedule this week, but let me look here.
Can you send me the link to this doc you have in front of you so I can just make a note of it? Or
Yeah, let me do it now.
what's the best way for us to get in communication? Is it by email? Is that your preferred channel? Or
Yeah, or do you use Slack
yeah,
or WhatsApp?
Slack would be ideal for me. Second, WhatsApp.
Okay. I mean, I have both. Of course, I don't know if I use Slack on.
Oh, or what's ideally? I try not to.
I use it on channels, but I don't know. I don't know that I know how to use it outside of a channel. So I
Channel.
definitely know how to.
Well, hold on. I think it's pretty easy.
Sounds stupid because I'm a highly technical person, but
Yeah, like start to create an image.
let me share. Let me get this to you real quick while we're thinking about that. So
What's your email on Slack? Or what's your email in general?
I'm just trying to see which one I used on my Slack account here. It should be Josh at contentmarketingmedia.io.
Would you be so kind to just slap it in the chat box?
Yeah. I like how you put here. That's funny.
Yeah.
And then will you put yours in there real quick? That'll make you giving you access to these Google Docs super easy instead of me
Yeah.
going to the calendar and finding it.
I just sent you the invitation. Here, I just dropped mine.
Just so you know, so the Clay instructions are in there that are labeled. There's another document you can check out that has all the workflows that we built. Looks like this. Very in depth. Has workflows, a LinkedIn post about it, videos, etc. That's just for perusing. If you want to see some of the other stuff that we do. And then the strategy document we talked about, and then this one is the cost analysis. And I have it in there because as you want to scale and look at, like, if I want to run, it's all based off that 1 to 1,000 principle I told you of. So you can change numbers in here and see, like, what are my instantly costs, you know. And again, it just depends on where you get your leads and all that, but it's
We
just
can
a
we
cost
can cover we
benefit
can cover
analysis.
that on our next call if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. All right, so I'm going to share this with you. This folder.
Thanks. I shot you my email in the chat box. I also sent you the invite to Slack, but where is it? Did you get? I'm not sure. I'm not that familiar with Slack, to be honest.
Do you want to? Yeah, I don't even know if I gave you the right email for Slack. That's the problem because I'm not. Let me see if I see it. Threads,
uh,
no. Would it be easier to do? I mean, I would it be easier to do WhatsApp?
Slack would be really ideal.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, if you want, if you're in Slack, you can just add my email in there because I know my one's for sure. And you just have to go to the top there. There's like new message. Or sorry, no. There's like a new add external people.
Okay, I'm looking. I'm on my phone. Here, let's try this. I think I figured it out.
And ideally, I just want Slack so you can send me the invoices there and just we can book the calls there. Ideally, I don't want to have any outside communication besides our calls. Keep it just efficient.
Okay. See if that works. So I'm sharing this. So I'd say next steps is instantly access and then sign up on Clay. You don't need to, you don't, nothing you need to do in there besides sign up and give me access. And then I can start building. And then I think if we plan to meet Friday, do you have time Friday?
Yeah, I'll make time.
Okay.
And
Yeah, just sign up for Clay and then give
you
me
just want me to
access.
go. You just want me to go through the installation instructions, right?
Yeah, and the link to sign up's there, and then it tells you like go here, add my email address, same email address, and that's it.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that before end of night. Hey, you're a gentleman, man. Thanks for being efficient and appreciate, man. You looks pretty neat what you got going on.
Awesome. Look forward to working together. Thanks, Ramsey.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Cheers.